welcome back, folks. Glad you could join me. It's still pretty darn cold in here, but forecast is it's supposed to warm up in a couple days. But I actually was asked some real good questions in my last video, totally unrelated to the video, but that doesn't matter. This is something I should probably mention. Again, I've said it before, is feel free to ask any question you want, and there's a good possibility it will become the subject of one of my videos. It's a lot easier to do a video than to try and explain how to do something. I'm writing a bunch of words and I don't type very fast. That's not my forte. Maybe if I was a lot younger, but no. Anyhow, unfortunately, one of the questions I was asked about, I'm going to have a hard time demonstrating it. I'm actually going to have to do it without a horse, because it is actually a problem I had with this particular horse, is she didn't want to lead. I'd put the lead on, go to walk away, and she'd hit the brakes. And sometimes she would do that quite a few times, bringing her in. And I want to show you how to address that problem, because it's a problem we don't have anymore. And well, even when we did have it, it was out in the pasture and we didn't have the camera with us, so we couldn't show you what we did. But it's actually fairly simple, but there is something that is involved that is very important, and it's consistency. You have to be very consistent and follow through. And that way the horse always takes you seriously when you ask for something. And you know, it's a problem that, you know, it's a very common one, you know. And what was interesting is even today I got asked about how to do something with the horse. And well, as with most things, turns out it's actually really simple. Most things with horses actually are, once you get the hang of them and you figure out how to do them. They're really not that complicated. And that's one of the reasons I like doing these videos, is I want to show you how uncomplicated things actually can be. And I'm going to put a lead on this one. I'm going to start off by showing you one of the things that we do. And it's something that we just started doing with her. So hopefully we can show you, because she doesn't know it too well yet. However, she's pretty smart and sensitive, so who knows what's going to happen. We have done this a couple of times with her. Excuse me, dear, I want to put this on. I know you'd rather not have it on, but that's not the way it works. Okay. Now, one of the subjects was leading, was one of the questions. And I just want to show you the end result. What you want is you want to be able to just pick up the lead on an open hand like this, and the horse comes with you. Now, why does it do that? Because I've been consistent with her. I've always, every time I picked up the lead and started going with it, I expected her to follow me, and I didn't stop asking her to follow me until she did. And that's where the consistency comes in. When you ask your horse to do something, you must keep asking until it does it. Of course, there are times you got to stop and ask yourself, are you asking it properly, so that it understands what you want? Because there's, when it comes to horses that don't want to lead well, there's two problems that can occur. One could be the horse has no idea how to lead properly. Nobody's ever taught it proper. The other one is the horse says, no, I don't want to. I'd rather be here. You can't make me go there. And that's it. I'm putting the brakes on and we're not going with you. Well, that's also, well, both problems get addressed exactly the same way, though. But I can't show you with leading, because, well, yeah, I just showed you how easily she leads now. And it's actually never really been a problem in here in the arena, only out in the pasture when we're catching her where we have no camera. But I can show you something else that we've been working on, is we've been working on teaching her to side pass. And the principle is the same, and it's actually the same for a lot of stuff, is the consistency, that you always do it exactly the same. You always keep asking until the horse does what you want. And that's also another thing that I talk about, is follow through. Is if you ask for something, you must be willing to follow through with your request until they actually do what you want. Now, well, hopefully we've got a little more room here now. We can demonstrate. Now, what I want her to do is a side pass. Now this will be one of the few cases where you'll actually hold the lead fairly close to the halter, because you don't want her going forward or backwards. You want her to go sideways. That's what we're trying to teach her. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask her to go sideways. And I'm not getting any result. That's okay. I'm not going to stop asking though. This is where the consistency comes in. And oh, she just moved 1 foot. That's not very much, but this is where you got to go, is you got to start in tiny little increments. Okay, she moved 1 foot. She put it back where it was, but that's okay. I'm happy she did something. Now I'm going to ask her to move again. And sometimes you might, depending on the horse, you may have to press fairly hard. There she goes, 1 foot. It was only 1 foot, but she definitely moved that 1 foot. Now we're going to ask her again. Maybe this time she's going to move more than 1 foot. Oh, there we go. Oh, she moved 3 feet. Actually, I can't see what, no, that other one's still back there. That's okay. But you see what I'm doing here is I'm consistent. I don't stop asking until she does it. As soon as she stops or does what I want, I stop asking. So that's where I put my finger on her side. I don't press hard. Some horses you might have to press a little harder than others. Some you barely got to touch them depending on their sensitivity. She's fairly sensitive, so I don't have to push very hard. I'm only using 1 finger. You might actually, with some horses, actually have to bend your fingers over and use your knuckles to push, because you have to push so hard to get their attention. That's just the way some of them are. But that's what you need to do, is whatever the cue is, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, not just a side pass, it could be anything. You ask until you get what you want, and immediately when you get what you want, you stop asking. Now I'm going to move on to the leading part, because that was something that I was specifically asked about. And unfortunately, I can't do it with a horse because I don't have any that don't lead well right now. Even this one, she's gotten really good. So I'm going to have to just hook my lead onto one of the tie rings on the wall and demonstrate there how you go about it. It's actually pretty easy. I'm hoping that that demo is going to be sufficient. Let me reposition the camera one more time, and we'll get at that. For a horse that doesn't want to lead well, which is not an uncommon problem, and like I said, there's 2 different reasons for it. Either it doesn't understand what you want, or it's simply saying, I don't feel like listening to you. Well, that's a problem that you have created by not being consistent. And that's where it's very important to be consistent. I can't imagine how much I need to emphasize that, but okay, I just hooked onto a ring there because I don't have a horse that I can do this with, but I'm going to demonstrate exactly what I would do if that was a horse at the other end. And you go to walk away and the horse says, oh, I don't feel like it. Well, you know what I'm going to do? Well, first I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I am not going to get into a tug-of-war with that horse, because you're never ever going to win. Even if you have a 20,000-pound winch, you might not succeed. One of the things I will mention that a lot of people will suggest is going to one side or the other, because you can turn the horse's head easier than you can pull the horse forward. And that still involves using a considerable amount of force, and even pulling sideways. That horse has got a very powerful neck and can probably still pull that lead out of your hand. So you're not even going to try and get into a tug-of-war with the horse, because you will absolutely not win. Guaranteed, you're not going to win a tug-of-war with the horse. So what you do is you go to walk away and the horse says, I don't feel like it. Well, that's okay. I can stand here all day. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep a firm pressure on that lead. Never ever use 2 hands. That is way too much force. And even sometimes you can pull too hard with 1 hand, depending on how strong you are. You just need to keep that lead firmly snug so that the horse continues to feel pressure until it moves forward. And if it moves forward, even if it to start with, if it even just leans its body forward, let go. Give it slack. Take the pressure off. And the neat thing about leading is timing isn't super critical most of the time, because as soon as the horse moves forward, it's going to give itself release because it's moved the right direction. And that's what you want the horse to learn, is that it moves the right direction, it gets the reward of release, and that's all you're going to do. Now, if you get a horse that runs backwards, which might happen, particularly if they're inexperienced, don't know much, they might get a little concerned about this pressure, start shaking the head and moving backwards. Well, get ready and pay attention to the horse, because they'll tell you when they're going to do this, so it doesn't come as a surprise. They won't just yank the lead out of your hand. Because what you got to do is they'll start the head will start coming up. Maybe they'll start shaking the head a bit. The back end will go down, and you can tell if you're watching that the horse is getting ready to back up. And if it does, you go with it. You don't try and stop it from backing up, but you keep that same tension on the lead. You just hang on to that lead, keep it tight, and go with the horse. And if it goes 20 feet, 50, I don't care how far that horse goes, you go with it. And you keep the lead tight the whole time so that it realizes eventually that going backwards doesn't do a bit of good to make that pressure go away on the halter. But as soon as it takes even one step forward, all of a sudden it goes slack. And again, you got to be consistent. Every single time you do it, that's what you do. And if the horse, well, if it wants to put the brakes on and you got to stand there for 15 minutes or half an hour, well, that's what you got to do. And you have to do that every single time. Now, depending on the horse, that may only take a matter of a few minutes before they get it figured out. If they're pretty stubborn, it might take a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a few months before they get good at it. My goodness, this one here took me, probably better part of 2 months before she started to really, really lead well. And it's not that she's bad. She's actually smart. She's sensitive, but at her age, she's set in her ways, and that's going to happen. She gets a little stubborn. She'd rather be out with the horses because that was part of her thing. Is she's real herd bound. Insisted on being with other horses. As you can see now, she doesn't care. She's not too concerned. Although today I do have one other horse in here because she followed us up and wanted to come in. So I said, okay, fine, you can come in too. But that wasn't the purpose of our demo today. Today we wanted to show you how to get your horse to lead. Real simple. You just put pressure on that lead and wait till the horse moves forward. As soon as it moves forward, give it release. And actually when it moves forward, it will generally give itself release. So don't keep pulling as the horse comes forward thinking, okay, it got one step, I can get 2 or 3 or 4 out of it. No. As soon as it takes one step forward, leave it alone. Wait a while. And you snug the lead up again. And it'll take one more step forward. And then the lead goes slack. Wait a minute. Well, maybe not even that long, 15 seconds, half a minute, I don't know. And you just keep repeating that process, and pretty soon when you pick that lead up, that horse is going with you. It's as simple as that, but you must be consistent. And if at any time you go, I'm tired of doing this, the horse wins. It has learned that if it balks long enough, that it gets its way. And that's not what you want the horse to ever, ever learn. And that's why I say this kind of stuff, the principle behind it, the consistency that is needed applies to virtually everything that you do with your horse. So this isn't just about leading. It's about absolutely everything you do with your horse. And if you've had a horse for quite a while and you're having problems getting it to move when you put the lead on, chances are you've got problems in other areas for the same reasons. It occasionally will decide, I don't feel like it, and you can't make me. And if I get stubborn long enough, I'm going to get my way. Well, that's not what you want the horse to learn. You want the horse to learn that when you pick up that lead, that it's supposed to go with you. And that's why you eventually end up with something like this one here, where once she's got a lead on, pick up the lead and say, let's go, dear. And, well, there you go. And this is a horse that not long ago didn't lead very well. Well, it took a little longer to get it sorted out with her than it, should, but, there's circumstances with her, because of her age and how long she'd been a little stubborn like that. But that's what you get. That's the end result. And, I can't do a demo with an actual horse to show you how it's done because I don't have one right now at my disposal that I have any problems leading with, because Leading is typically something that gets fixed very, very quickly. Most horses, if you're starting them from scratch, or even ones that aren't terribly green, the leading thing, if you're consistent with it, it generally sorts itself out in a matter of a few minutes. Once the horse realizes that you're serious and you're not playing around, and when you ask for something that you mean it, and you're not going to go away, because that's all the part of the consistency. No, I'm not going away. It's just like going out to catch a horse. Again, this one, we had problems with that too when we first went to catch her. We did things a little bit different than we do usually, but not much. And first while it took an hour. Then it was half hour, then 15 minutes. Well, now I can walk out there and say, "How you doing, sweetheart?" And which that part was never a problem with her. And I always had the leading halter hanging around my neck, kind of like this. But as soon as I took it off and I was about to put it on her, she knew what was coming, and she goes, "Yeah, I'm out of here." And away she'd go, and this would go on for a while. But now we can actually go out there, take the halter by itself, put it on her, then clip the lead on, and walk away, and problem solved. Now, that took a little while with her, a little longer than it does with some horses, but now not a problem. She's actually quite easy to catch. And if you're consistent with the things that you do with your horse, no matter what it is, you're not going to have problems, because the horse is going to be as consistent as you are. And I've said this many times, consistency is important, because the horse reacts to you. It doesn't do things on its own, when you're around. It does things according to how you ask it to do things, or how you behave, that sort of thing. So, the horse, if you're consistent, the horse is consistent. That's what you want, right, sweetheart? So, I think that's about the best I can do is, don't quit. It's like I say with catching a horse, something I've said for years is, if you go out to get a horse, don't come back without a horse. Otherwise, that horse learns that it does not have to be caught. Same thing with leading. If you want that horse to go with you, well, you don't stop asking it to go with you until it goes with you. It's really that simple. I can't explain it any better than that, really. But the only thing that I'll say is, if the horse takes a step forward, don't keep pulling, thinking, okay, it took one step, I can get two out of it. No, if it takes one step, be happy with that. You got one step out of the horse. And then you give it a little break, and then the next time you pick up that lead, you're going to get 2 steps, then 3. Then the next thing you know, it won't be long, and that horse is going to be following you wherever you want to go the minute you clip a lead onto it. It's really that simple. Like most things with horses, but nobody's born knowing anything, and it takes a while to figure this stuff out. And if nobody ever explains it to you, you'll never know. So, again, feel free to ask questions in the comments down below. If it's an easy one, I might be able to just give you an answer in the comments. If not, it might be a subject for another video if I've got a horse that's appropriate to work with, or a way of doing it that I can show you in a video. So feel free to ask questions. You're never going to learn if you don't. And that's how it goes. Have a good day.